Hello, hello, and welcome back or welcome to the Yogi Roth Show. How great is ball? That's right. How great is ball? It is training camp, and I'm here in Salt Lake City as my training camp tour begins, and I'm so excited to share some analysis and interviews about the University of Utah. I'm also excited to partner with SiriusXM College Sports on this training camp tour, and they're going to be with me all around the Pac-12 footprint. So you can listen to these conversations on SiriusXM or, of course, wherever you subscribe and listen to your favorite podcast. Hopefully, my podcast is one of your favorites by now. If not, subscribe, rate, and review. Now, that being said, today I had a chance to watch the University of Utah practice. I called their spring game on the Pac-12 networks this past spring and voted in the preseason poll, and I also voted for them to be the preseason favorite to win the Pac-12 conference. And I truly think they're a college football caliber team. My eyes today would agree with that sentiment. They look the part, they practice the part, as competitive as a practice as I've seen in quite some time. And I think this team is mature enough to handle all the hype and talented enough to compete with anyone around the country. And it's not just the sexy positions like D-line and DB, but I think you could look at them. Of course, Zach Moss coming off an injury, Britten Covey coming off an injury, but the depth of wide receiver, I think the depth of their offensive line, I really even like the linebackers after already losing Manny Bowen as he retired prior to training camp. So overall, I'm all in on the Utah Utes. I think they have the tools to be successful, and I want you to now listen in as I had a chance to sit down with Kyle Whittingham, the head coach, longest tenured head coach in the Pac-12, and of course, wide receiver Britten Covey, and two star DBs, Julian Blackmon and Jaylon Johnson. All right, Coach Whittingham, thanks for joining me. First and foremost, I think every year in training camp, coaches obviously get a feel for your team. Have you been able to, 6-7 practices and get a feel for your team's personality heading into the season?
Yeah, I think so. Very similar to last year. Last year we had a great group of leaders in that senior class. It wasn't a big senior class this year. A few more bodies in the senior class, but the leadership has been outstanding. Tyler Huntley is really coming into his own. His personality and how he's conducting himself and handling himself is the best it's ever been. Not that he was bad, in the past, but he's taken it to another level and playing with a great deal of confidence, and is completely immersed in what he's doing. And got a bunch of good leaders on defense as well, and so far so good. 6 practices in, we got 19 to go before we line up and play. So I think relative to where we are in the process, we're in pretty good shape at this point. All
right, so I want to dive into both sides of the ball here in a second, but I've been able to watch you guys, from playing Pitt in the Fiesta Bowl way back in the day. I can remember the transition for you as being the head coach and covering that game all the way to now. And it has been this really fun build to watch from afar. And I love the steps just watching, as you've built the roster, the ethos of the team, all the stuff that you stand for. But some of the players, they haven't been around, even born for some of those builds. How do you make sure with all the hype, preseason predicted, CFP, potential sleeper, all this stuff that's out there, how do you talk to your team about it for some guys that maybe read those headlines for the first time?
Well, first of all, I think our culture is very good here as far as blue collar mentality. We don't toot our own horn. At least I hope we don't. Doesn't seem to be the case. We understand that we'll be as good as the effort and hard work that we put into the entire off season. It starts with winter conditioning, and this group has been a great had a great work ethic. And we started talking way back at the end of spring ball about blocking out the noise and blocking out any hype, because we understood that we were going to probably, as the returning South champs and a lot of players returning, that we were going to get some preseason accolades, and we made it clear right out of the gate that they don't mean anything. I mean, it's a nice tribute to our players that some people feel that we have some talent on the team coming back, but it doesn't go anywhere beyond that. It won't help you win a game. It won't help you in any way, shape, or form. And so we just got to keep doing what we do, stick to the process, keep that blue collar mentality, and just keep our heads down and work.
Speaking of working, I came out in spring, called the game on the Pac-12 networks, and got to watch your offense. New offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig, to the Pac-12. I was obviously with you back in the day when you guys had a ton of success. Watching the evolution development of Tyler Huntley, since you recruited him out of Florida to now as a senior, and I watch him, I'm like, wow, he really looks the part, even under center, his body type. What have you noticed between the marriage of those two to have high expectations for him in his final year here?
Well, like I said, Tyler is really got a sense of urgency about him. He understands that this is his last go around. This offense, fits his skill set to a T. We're going to do some things under center. His athleticism and playmaking ability is right in line with what Andy's got in mind. And Tyler, you'll be the first to tell you he's learned a ton about football ever since Andy came in. That's not to say he wasn't coached well in the past, but Andy has broadened Tyler's knowledge and his scope of the game.
Britten Covey coming off of a dramatic injury. We all saw that one on national TV. But when I looked at your receiver corps today, I said, there's no problems. Like, you guys have depth. I'm curious for you, is it the deepest that group's been, and are you as confident as you've been in at least the ceiling of what that group could be this fall?
I think there's no question that we have the most depth that we've had that we have had in a lot of years, and maybe ever since I've been here. We've got 9 or 10 guys that are right in the mix for playing time. Britten Covey's one of those top guys in the group. We've got Solomon Enos, Damari Simpkins, Devon Lloyd, a new walk-on that has really opened some eyes, and 4 or 5 other guys, young guys as well, Perriman and Banton, and so there's a lot of guys in that group. We need to make plays. The bottom line is we need to make plays. We did not make enough plays at that position last year. Too many drops, not consistent enough. This year needs to change.
Yeah, Devon Lloyd, extremely impressive. Yeah. But as is the guys covering him. To watch Jaylon Johnson, Julian Blackmon, Javelin Guidry, let alone the other competition at corner, to me I see a group that's really united because I watch them talking to each other, talking to the young guys. How have they taken on, make sure they're not lackluster in another camp, making sure that they haven't arrived going up against this receiving corps that continues to develop?
Well, there's no chance of that mentality with Sharif Shaw and Morgan Scally back there in their ear constantly, and so that's just something that we definitely guard against, and that's complacency and thinking that you've got all the answers. And fortunately, those guys back there have great attitudes and understand that completely and have embraced that. Jaylon, Javelin, Julian, the 3 leaders back there have played together, played a lot of football together now, and they understand what it takes to win a championship, and they know that they're going to be challenged this year. There's some great receivers in this conference, and so we've got our work cut out for us, but we like what we see so far back there.
Defensive front, it's been a mainstay in this program, in this city, on this campus for a long time. Is this group of defensive linemen at least had the ceiling to be one of the most dominant groups, if not the most dominant group that you had?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, and that's a big statement. As you mentioned, we've had a lot of good players and a lot of great groups come through here through the years. Some great individuals as well. Luther Ellis, way back when I first got here, he was tremendous, and all through the years, Nate Orchard, Star Lotalale. I mean, we've had a bunch of guys that have gone on to the next level and done very well. And so I think this group here has the chance, if they continue to work hard and not, again, kind of like the secondary, not think they've arrived, then they have a chance to be the most talented and the most productive. And it's all about production. If you're the most talented, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. You got to be the most productive group that we've had.
Speaking of productivity, lost a lot of it last year to the NFL and to graduation at the linebacker position. You know that position as well as anybody. When I look at Devin Lloyd, I'm like, that's how the football gods wanted to build linebackers?
Yeah.
Who is he, and what can you expect from him as he suitably has to compete but slides into the presumed starting role at linebacker?
Yeah, right now he's scheduled to start alongside Francis Bernard, and we had those 2 great ones last year, and Chase Hansen and Cody Barton. But we feel that Francis and Devin can be just as productive. And you're right, Devin Lloyd, you look at what a linebacker supposed to look like, it's Devin Lloyd. He's 6'3", 235 pounds, runs a sub 4.6, he was somewhere in the 4.5s when we timed him. Long arms, he's got great length. And one thing is he didn't have a lot of linebacker experience. In fact, he had 0 linebacker experience before he got here. He played some wide out and some DN, but he has really worked hard. He's one of those guys, you can come in this facility pretty much any time of the day, and he's either getting treatment or in the film room or doing something productive. He's one of those junkies. He's a football junkie that really is, and his time has arrived, and with the exit of Manny Bowen, that opened the door up for Devin to step in and be the guy.
I'm curious for you. This is, you've been a lot of training camps in your life. What keeps the fire burning for you to dive into these early mornings, late nights, continue to build a program?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we haven't achieved the Rose Bowl goal, and we got a lot of goals that we have not achieved yet. And when we broke into or got accepted in the Pac-12, 9 years ago now, it was like I got a new job. It was like I was starting over. It was a whole different ball game as far as everything. I mean, facilities, recruiting, the budgets, everything changed. And it was a challenge, and it was a big challenge, and one that we embraced as a staff, and we knew it was going to be a process. We weren't going to have overnight success, although that first year we competed very well, but we knew that we'd have to build the roster and continue to recruit, and that's what it's all about, is recruiting and get the 1 through 85 roster up to par and up to speed. And we feel like we're never a finished product, but we're closer to that than ever. And I think that's what keeps me going, is the challenge and continually trying to take that next step.
I love it. Well, wish you the best of luck. The challenge week 1, BYU.
That's
Here it
right.
is.
That's all it is. That's all we're focusing on. So thanks, Yogi. Appreciate you.
I love that conversation with Coach Whittingham. Also love my partner on the Yogi Roth Show, Kona Red Coffee, because I love conversation and I love coffee, and I think coffee is a catalyst to fun conversation. Think about how maybe you start your day and you're sipping on that warm cup of joe, and all of a sudden you got a great conversation with somebody you're sitting next to, or even with yourself. You're just getting the body moving. And I love everything this brand stands for. If you're curious about them, go to KonaRed.com, and you'll learn that they source some of the rarest, most sought-after coffee on planet Earth. It's grown on the volcanic mountain slopes of Hawaii, and they have every type of coffee that you're seeking. They got premium coffee beans, cold brewed coffee, which I'm always watching film with. They even have a juice, which is called the Hawaiian Cascara juice. I think it's the best coffee on planet Earth. I drink it every morning. I don't leave my apartment or our home when I go on the road for Pac-12 football games without some of this. And to me, it's a great catalyst, not only for conversation, but also for my day. So check them out at KonaRed.com. Or if you're on the road, you can find them at Vaughn's, Albertsons, Pavilions, Ralph's, Bristol Farms, Sprouts, and much more. So really stoked about that partnership. Check it out, as coffee, I think, is a catalyst to conversation. Now, let's get back to the conversation and the conversation with Britten Covey. All right, joined by Britten Covey. Britten, it's been a while since we've seen each other and had a chance to talk. I vividly remember the last time I kind of gave you a head nod, and it was in the Pac-12 title game. You were on the sideline. I was walking around the sideline after your injury.
Oh, okay.
How's life been since then to today, where you're practicing, not a full go yet, but you're moving?
Yeah. Well, I mean, life's been pretty up and down. It's been a roller coaster. You just learn a lot about the body, but about yourself and everything like that, because this is something that you can't force. When you have a personality that, you're a hard worker, you always are very competitive. Obviously, I wanted to get back so fast, and I was doing everything, doing all the rehab, doing extra, and yet my body still was not responding. And so you learn a lot about yourself and patience and understanding of those things. And I'm glad, I feel grateful now that I'm back to running and going around and doing probably 90% of the stuff that we're doing with the team.
Did you expect, because this injury, you're kind of, I would imagine you're ahead of schedule, but you were hoping to be further ahead of schedule?
Right, yeah. I am ahead of schedule for the average recovery time, but I definitely was hoping to be even further ahead of schedule. And so that's one of those things that you just can't force.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting with you, where you came out of high school, you're this record-setting quarterback. You come here, you ball out as a freshman. You go on your mission where you coach a little, teach a little football. We've all talked about that or seen that on YouTube. We've talked before about it. And then get an injury and have to say goodbye, per se, to the game again for a little period of time. Mm-hmm. What has it been like doing that multiple times now in terms of your perspective on the game of football?
Right. Well, I mean, it's funny. I like to think a lot of times how I would be if I had an off season, because I've never had one. Coming out of high school as a quarterback, I came up midsummer and I had to basically learn to play receiver. And then coming back from my mission, I just had to get in shape. And then coming back from the injury, I'm coming back from the injury. So I've never really had an off season where I can just work on my craft and everything like that. And I'm hopeful for this off season because I love the game and I feel like I have the potential to be really good at what I do. I feel I am, but I feel like I could be much better and I just haven't had the time to work on it. So it's funny.
Yeah, it's interesting that way. You've kind of, I feel like, always been, I wonder if your parents would describe you as like a chameleon. Like, you can adapt to your surroundings, I bet, really well.
Yeah.
So here you are, third OC in your third eligible season as a student athlete. And this system's way different than the other ones you've ran under Andy Ludwig, who's, I feel like they could almost, like, a statue of Kyle Whittingham will happen here, but like prior to this season, Andy Ludwig might have a little one based on what they did when they went undefeated.
Right.
What's this offense like? If you can describe it for us, and how do you see yourself fitting in it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Coach Ludwig is very experienced, and you can just sense it whenever you're around him. He's very competent, and I think it's one thing to know the game. It's another thing to know how to teach the game, but then it's a whole nother thing to know how to implement the offense. And that's what's impressed me the most about Coach Ludwig, is he knows the steps of implementation. He knows what to implement first, how slow, fast to take things, sets, plays, formations, and so it's come very smoothly. The whole team has been able to adapt and understand it very well. And there's not much secret about this offense. Last year, I felt like Coach Taylor, it was a little unpredictable, even for us. We didn't know what new install was coming the next week. And this offense is more structured and very, I guess I would say, I don't want to use the word basic, but classic, I would say. Very classic. And it's very possible that my position, or me in general, I'm not used as much in this offense. And I am okay with that, because when I am used, I know it's going to be because it's for an opening. And I think that that's the strategy of it. People know we're going to want to run the ball this year. We're going to run the ball. We've got a couple great tight ends and some good receivers. But we want to run the ball, and then when it opens up, that's when we're going to pass it.
I can remember way back in my day, we went from spread to pro style, and for like the slot guy who was
you got to swallow a
I wasn't nowhere near as talented as you, but could be that guy rotating, getting plays. But then you think about it, and hindsight, and I'm curious if it's this way now, it makes the receiver room even more competitive in a healthy way. And I say that with your ceiling of that room, and I just talked to Coach Whittingham about it. I think it's as high as it's ever been when you look at the skill level. Mm-hmm. Is it as competitive as it's ever been based on this new system you just described?
Yeah, it is. It's more competitive than it's ever been, at least in my 2 years here, which covers, about 4 years. I'm an old man. And, we've gotten some great recruits that we used to not get 5-6 years ago. And so the talent is there, and I think it's interesting for the coaching staff. I always try and put myself in the coach's shoes. I want to be a coach one day. I think, and I think it's a balance between letting these young and talented and just ridiculously athletic guys learn the system and develop, and then also letting the veterans, proven guys go, because you're learning a new offense, and there are limited reps with this new offense. And what do you do with these reps? And so it's an interesting balance, and it's very competitive. And the good thing is we talk about that. It's not, it's not like this shady, secretive thing. We know that. And we're hoping to be 8 deep this year. That's the goal. You're 8 deep as a team, and you are confident. And but you do have to swallow a pride pill at times, and that's one thing that I always try and keep in my mind. I always try and keep in our group's mind, and just kind of lead by example with that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I can remember Ted Robinson, my partner, and I. We called your game last year here, where Jason Shelley makes his first career start. Right, Zach Moss just got injured, and you guys have this incredible win against Oregon. I'm curious, when you look at the quarterback position now, you've got the most proven successful quarterback room in the Pac-12, and one of the most in the entire country. We could argue it probably is the most, because a lot of teams don't have a backup who's won big games.
Right.
What have you noticed from that room, and then specifically Tyler Huntley? Because while you were out rehabbing, you got to observe him 15, 20 pounds heavier. under center with a stance that really looks like he's a quarterback under center. And I'm sure you've gotten to know him pretty well over your time here.
Right. Oh, I've gotten to know Tyler super well. And I think he has a different, I don't know what the word would be, vibe, era about him right now. Part of it stems from Coach Ludwig's confidence rubs off on Tyler. You can see that confidence being transmitted through Tyler. Part of it is him knowing how well he played last year up until his injury. And I think a lot of it is just knowing the confidence we have in him as a team. Like, I love Shelly. Everybody loves Shelly. Shelly's amazing, but we know that Tyler's the guy. And there's no question about that, and we're fully behind him because we trust him, and he does everything right. Just an example, 2 days ago I ran a little diagonal route to the corner of the end zone, and he underthrew me. And we were kind of, not in an argument, we were talking, I don't know, did you underthrow me? He's like, I don't know, I think your angle is too high and stuff. And then at like 10:30 at night, I get a text from him. He's like, yeah, I underthrew you. My bad, it won't happen again. So that's just, that's the guy he is. He's just trustworthy, and you love him as a leader.
It's interesting. I think the quarterback position, as a former quarterback yourself, you probably felt this. You get way too much hype and you get way too much slack, right? That's just kind of par for the course. But I look at your team and the defense, which we'll get to here in a minute. You got a crazy front, backers are going to be fine. Secondary, you go against every day. Running back, you reference, you're going to run the football. O-line looks the part. Receiver, 8 deep. I think it's fair to say that your team, and I get it's a team game, it's the ultimate team game, but can go as far as number one takes you. Is that overhype? Is that an overstatement? And if not, like, what allows you to believe that, like, yeah, he's going to take us to the goal of this program, which is the controllable Rose Bowl?
Well, I mean, I guess in a sense, that's why it's so nice to have a proven backup as well as this proven system. Because, yeah, in a way, at the quarterback position, in certain offenses, I believe it's very true that you're going to go as far as they take you. But I believe that in this system, it's so much more than that. And so we are going to go as far as one takes us, but at the same time, this system is just so proven and simple and classic that you can fall back on that whenever a player doesn't, play to par, I guess.
It's a great point, because I think that people say that, and I wanted to ask you that just to hear your response, because it's kind of inappropriate to think that, like, you're going to go as far as one player takes you, because no one plays a perfect game.
Right.
I don't care what quarterback, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa or Jake Fromm or Tyler Huntley.
Right.
Nobody's going to go through the season and bat 1,000. So that being said, flipping over to the other side of the ball, because I'm going to talk to your two teammates here in a minute. You go up against, I think, the best secondary in this conference, and I'd argue the country. Specifically, Jaylon Johnson at corner, and Julian Blackmon at safety, former corner, and Javelin Guidry, who kind of gets forgotten even though he's the fast guy in the country.
I know.
What have those three done in your eyes in terms of how they've developed at their own specific craft on that side of the ball?
Well, I mean, it's funny. They're just in general. I always like. One day I want to write a book about the DB mentality, because you know how DBs always have that mentality where it's just like they're so confident. You can literally beat them on a go route, be burning them by 10 yards, and if you drop the ball, they'll go crazy and act like they made a bit, just like, yeah, that's right. Or you'll catch it and they're just like, doesn't blow their confidence that you're lucky. You know what I mean? And so that's the mentality that's in that room. They understand how, there's hype and things, but they let it get to them in the sense that, sweet, I'm that dude, and I'm going to work to be that dude, and I have that confidence about me, and it makes for fun practices. It's just nice to go up against Jav, honestly, and then every game I play, I say I will never face anybody this good or this fast.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think to piggyback off your book on the DBs, I agree. I think we could also write like a wide receiver book, because receivers are always open and we always want the rock.
Right, exactly.
Very fair, but I say that, and to let you go here, I think your receivers, which is, I think it's fair to say unproven, because there's guys that haven't had 50, 80 grabs in a year. You clearly have done that. But you go up against the best competition every day. And I feel like I'm as confident, for whatever it's worth, as an analyst in your receiving core based on that, and then based on what we saw in the spring, what you've done, and what I saw earlier today.
Yeah.
Curious if you'd agree, based on the work you see every day, how that drives your guys' confidence in your ability in the room.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's something that you need to talk about as a receiving core. You need to help them recognize what we're going against. And when you get in a game, you're not going to go against anybody better. Because I always feel that receivers play the best when they play with personality and swag. When someone starts dropping a ball or they start getting so technical and things, I just go out to them and I say, just put some flair in your route. Play like you did in high school. And they usually just get back to it. And so that's the DB mentality in a way. And I think that in a way that we didn't have that as a core my first 2 years. It was fear of dropping the ball. It was fear of not getting enough reps. But now it's just you want them to have that freedom, that fire, that feeling.
I love it. Well, I wish you the best. Your freedom and fire at wide receiver is something we all enjoy. Get healthy. Good
all
luck
right.
this season, man. Can't wait to watch you guys do what I think a lot of people predict you have the capability of doing.
So thanks, Yogi.
All right, that's Britten Covey. I'm Yogi Roth. We'll be right back. Talking to the DBs. We talked to the receiver. We talked to the head coach, Julian Blackmon, Jaylon Johnson. Fired up for you guys to be here. Two graduates, not only esteemed football players. I'm curious for your guys in your relationship. How would you describe it? Because usually these interviews are one-on-one, but I wanted to do two-on-one based on you moving into the safety position and you, of course, being in the corner.
How would I describe it? Ooh, you have to answer that one, bro.
Yeah, I feel like the way that I would describe it is just more of a, I don't know. I feel like just that corner, we were already pretty close in terms of just because he was my little brother coming in. So me moving to safety kind of just helped me, or even both of us, just understand that, we have a lockdown corner on one side, and he knows what I can do at the top. So I just think that it's just this is going to be a good a fit for both of us. So, yeah.
I love it. All right, well, let me tell you what I see. When I go to practice, been here in spring, known you guys since you got here, began your careers. I feel like you guys drive each other. I feel like you feed off each other.
Yeah, I can see that.
Do you recognize that? And is that something that, you feel is extremely healthy? Are you trying to all right, you got a pick, I need to get a pick? Or is it like, hey, let's just clean this whole offensive thing off the map and no one's going to do anything against us?
I would say it started when he was at corner, because we were always on opposite sides and we just kind of look at each other, point, and just kind of keep each other up and kind of compete in a sense. But it wasn't like nothing jeopardizing to where it was, oh, well, he did this and I couldn't do this, so I don't like you. It was just always, okay, you get a pick, Juice, good job. Jaylon, good job. And then now that he's behind me, now it's just like we communicate all the time. And now it's like I know he has my back and I can tell him, hey, cheat that way, I got this. So now it's just more of a closer communication and more of a closer drive we have now.
Yeah, I feel like duos are like a big deal in sports. Usually we talk about them like in basketball, it's easy, like Steph Curry and Clay, or in football, it's usually like two receivers. But it hasn't been talked about a lot in the secondary in college. Like you heard about the Legion of Boom, of course, the Hawks, but you guys as a duo, I think it's as good as there is in the country in the back end. And I feel as though like Sharif Shaw is somebody who just keeps you guys going, keeps you on your razor's edge. Definitely. Curious if that's true, and also how do you make sure that you remain on the razor's edge of your craft?
I feel like that's just the personality that we came in with, both of us. Is just kind of, we like to work. We want to be bigger. We want to be great, both of us. So just in terms of, the mentality, we already had it coming in, both of us. And I think that's one thing that drives both of us is just the fact that we both want to be great. So, in terms of how you're talking about, practice, for me, if Jaylon's starting to turn up, it gets me excited. It makes me want to turn up too. I'm like, all right, he doing something. I got to do something, man. I got to do something. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feed off, like, I definitely understood what you were talking about, like with the energy. Definitely, he's one of those guys that can, out of nowhere just make everybody just start going. And I don't know if he notices it himself, but for me, yeah, definitely when he starts making plays, I'm like, all right, I got to start doing something. This dude's over here taking all the spotlight. Now I got to do something. But I think that the mentality we both came in with was already, we want to be great. We want to be the best. And, so we just approach it that way. And I think that it's been going good for both of us.
I would say Coach Shaw does a good job pushing us, but I would say he does that by leading by example, because he comes in every day, coaches us hard, screaming, yelling every day. He's the same guy every day. So, I mean, just from a player standpoint, I have to respect that energy, respect that vibe and that competitiveness he has, and I kind of bring that same energy too. Like, okay, I know my coach is studying film till 1 o'clock in the morning, coming here 6 o'clock in the morning, he's still the same person every day. So I try to match that energy and even pick up the other guys. 'Cause, I mean, there's always days we come in sluggish, but seeing his energy and like, okay, so our leader's doing this, so we got to follow suit to it too. So, I mean, I just try to keep my energy up and just keep leading everybody as well, because I see how the coaches come, and he comes every day hard on us.
That's really well said. I've been doing this almost 20 years now and been around guys that have, let's just call it first-round talent, right? And a lot of times when you get into a draft year, it's about them and their talent and protecting it. And when I watch you guys practice, at every practice, not just today, you're always coaching the young guys. You're always trying to give back to the game. How have you been able to balance the potential foreseeable future of you both playing at your presumptuous dream, which is the National Football League, and staying in the moment, which is the very next play here at Utah?
I feel like that's something that our coaches really are good at making us realize. It's just knowing that, that is an option for us, but right now we're not there, so we need to focus on what we're doing right now. And honestly, you got to take it day by day. Like that's the biggest thing. For us, we got to look at the twos, and they got to be ready, because at the end of the day, someone's gonna get hurt at some point, but they got to be ready. So I think that's one thing that we really do well, is just making sure that they know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, then we'll take and pull them aside and start coaching them up and tell them what we see so that we can help them. But yeah, that's what I think.
Honestly, I would say it goes past the NFL. I mean, for me, it's not about just getting myself ready for the NFL. It's about trying to get the other guys ready for when we do leave.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, it's not like, okay, we're going to leave and then Utah goes down the drain. No, I still want Utah to have that name, still win games, and the only way for them to win games is if we pass down our knowledge, our experience. And, I mean, we've both been playing since we kind of first got here. So, I mean, we have a lot of reps. We have a lot of experience. So, I mean, to pass that down to the younger guys to keep it going, I mean, I don't even really think about the NFL right now. Like, that's the plan. That's a part of it. But right now I have to help. And then teaching others, too, helps me lock in. It helps me remember things better as well, too. And then it kind of just gives me, like, a different perspective for the game, trying to coach and just do stuff like that. I mean, it's just, outside of the game, too, like, you have to be able to talk to people, be able to teach people in just all different aspects. I mean, it's not really about me or him going to the NFL. It's just about helping and staying in the moment.
Yeah, it's really impressive to watch you guys be so engaged, from the moment you walk out. And I felt that way for your whole team. Speaking of, you guys know this. There's a ton of expectations and hype and reality around what you guys are coming back, defending South champs. You're loaded in the defensive side of the football. Offense, you bring back a 4-year presumptuous starter at quarterback, tailback, et cetera, et cetera. Curious what this team is like. I mean, forget all of that stuff and the expectation, but if you were to describe the team, you've been around it more than anybody. How would you do it?
That's tough. Honestly, I like the vibe better this year, and I would just describe it with, I want to say, kind of like the Avengers. And I'm going to say that because every guy knows their role. And I want to say every position knows their role. And we come in every day, we're going to work, we're going to give our best to the team, and that we just kind of attack every situation, whether it's conditioning, whether it's one-on-ones, whatever it is, we're going to work. We're going to come in and give our effort to put towards the group so the group wins. Because, the corners, if I only focus on the corners or we're only doing our job and nobody else is focusing, then Utah's not going to be great. But if the corners are doing their thing, the receivers are doing their thing, the O-line's focused, the D-line's doing their thing, then everybody's going to shine. And I just feel like we all kind of have that team mentality, like, okay, we're going to work on our group, and then we're going to all meet back up together to shine together.
Mm-hmm. Those are the best ones, right? I remember when I was back at SC, coaching when that SC was in the heyday, we used to always say, like, we're one heartbeat, and you could feel that from the kicker to the starting quarterback and all the assistants in between. What allows you to recognize that? Because you've been here a hair longer. From where this program began, super competitive when you walked in the door. Obviously, you guys have been in every game pretty much throughout your career, too. Now, the final soiree, potentially.
Right. Man, I would say that it started with, honestly, the way that we all are off the field. The guys that I came in with, I got really close with. And, as the years went, just that communication was already there off of the field. And a lot of people don't think that matters, but it's hard for me to call out somebody if I don't know them that well, and it's hard for someone else to get called out if they don't know me that well. But if I know you and I can call you out and tell you, like, hey, you need to be doing this, they'll be like, man, he's right, I need to be doing this. But, it's just that I feel like for me it was just the communication off the field really helped me, push these guys on the field. And I think that like as the years have come on, as the years have come, and up to my senior year, now I'm at the top, and now I'm with the guys that I've always been with, plus the guys who were behind me are following what we're doing. So now it just kind of becomes like we're all the same vibe, literally like one heartbeat. So that like even with the offense and defense, a lot of times you see the offense hanging out with the offense and defense with the defense, but no, with our team, everyone's together, and that's one thing that I love, and I think that it does correlate to the field.
Okay, so let's just put to the side winning the Pac-12, going to the Rose Bowl, being in the CFP, winning a Natty, leaving a legacy. Let's just assume those are all check boxes we all want to check. But what are you most, other than those, what are you most looking forward to as this season is less than a month away?
I would say our focus and consistency, because even before I got here, it was always Utah is great in the beginning of the season, and then they choke at the end of the season. So, I just want us, and I really trying to focus and get people to understand that it's just not a sometimes thing. Mm-hmm. This is a everyday thing. This is a commitment that you have to commit yourself to every day, and the day you don't is the day we get beat. So, just for us, I just want to see how consistent we can be and for how long we can do it, how long we can be great. Because, the upcoming games, BYU, that's a game to be excited for. USC for opening Pac-12, that's something to be excited for. But are we going to be excited when we have Cal? Are we going to be excited when we have Arizona? Are we going to be excited when we have UCLA and all those games on the back end? Because that's where we can either be somebody or that's where we can choke it and not be anybody. Mm-hmm. So, I just want to see how well we can hold our focus and hold just being great, really.
That was pretty much what I was going to say, just the consistency. And because I'm a senior, I'm just excited to be able to play my senior year with everyone, because I know, like, for me, it's going to be one of those, I got to play the same every single game because this ain't coming back. Like, this is it for me. So I'm just excited for the consistency as well because, we got the team to do it, but it's all about the mindset.
It is true. This is the final Tuesday week 2 of training camp you'll ever have in college football at Utah. I got to say this before I let you guys go. Watching you guys come in, get your degrees, has been so much greater than watching you ball on the field. And I love calling games here with Ted Robinson, my partner. And I think you guys are a great example for not only your current teammates, but future players that show up here and then just watch you around the country.
Yes, appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right, there it is. Julian Blackmon, Jaylon Johnson. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Well, there it is. Conversation with Kyle Whittingham, Britten Covey, and the top duo, I think, in the country at DB. And I know people in the Big Ten or the SEC are going to disagree with that. But trust me, watch the film. Julian Blackmon, Jaylon Johnson. And I had a trio in Javelin Guidry. He's world-class speed, like legit world-class. This secondary is big, big time. And I think this team, they're going to need a little luck. Everybody does. But they've got the tools to do something extremely special within this program, within this community, of course, within the Pac-12 conference. Which, speaking of, I'm going to continue my training camp tour of the Pac-12 conference. I'm racing to the airport, hopping on a plane, and make sure that you subscribe, you review, you rate, you stay in touch with this podcast. Follow me on social media at Yogi Roth, as you can find the conversations around the Pac-12 footprint, and also with athletes in college football all season long. You just go to yogiroth.com or listen in on Sirius XM College Sports. And if you want a little bit more, grab my newsletter, the How Great Is Ball newsletter. Every week I will bring you insights from around the country in college football, because it's college football season. How great is ball? It's time to go, and it's time for me to go. So I'm out. I'm off to the airport. How great is ball? Training camp tour continue.